Good afternoon. Welcome to the Bach's Lunch Recital Series and St. Mark's Steiner Reck Opus 100 organ. This afternoon you will hear works by Bach and also by Bühlmann and by... You can't hear me. Good afternoon. No? No? Better? No? I will get very close. Is that good? All right. Again, welcome to the Bach's Lunch Recital Series on the Steiner Reck Opus 100 organ. This afternoon you'll hear works by Bach and Bühlmann, and I would like to acknowledge, first of all, the fact that St. Mark's has opened its doors for this recital series and is allowing us, sponsoring us to collect donations for the renovation of this organ. It is in need of some revitalization, and any amount that you would like to donate would be most appreciated. There is a box on the, on the luncheon table in the narthex for just that purpose. You will hear myself this afternoon playing the Toccata and Fugue in D minor, as well as Christian Mickelson playing, and I won't speak about his works, and also Alice Reel. And we hope that you will enjoy everything that you hear. If you do, please tell your friends, bring them along the next time. The Toccata and Fugue in D minor, which I will play this afternoon, BWV 565, is, according to the oldest sources, attributed to Johann Sebastian Bach. It is one of the most widely recognizable works in the organ repertoire. The only near contemporary source for BWV 565 is an undated copy by Johann Rinck, who created his copied manuscript between 1730 and 1740. At the time, he was a student of Bach's student, Johann Peter Keller, and probably faithfully copied whatever work his teacher, Keller, put before him. Little was known about its early existence until the piece was discovered in Rinck's manuscript. It was first published in 1833 during the Bach revival period, basically through the efforts of Felix Mendelssohn, who often also performed the piece around 1840. Despite that, its popularity rose above that of other organ compositions by Bach, as evidenced by its inclusion in Walt Disney's animated film Fantasia, which featured Leopold Stokowski's orchestral transcription from 1927. It was about this time when scholars started to seriously debate its attribution to Bach. The reason being, it is much too simplistic for it to have been written by him, but also too much of a stroke of genius to have been composed by anyone but Bach. BWV 565 includes North German characteristics of organ composition taught by Dietrich Buxtehude and styles of South German composition taught by Johann Pachelbel, with both schools of thought evident in its Stilus Fantasticus. A passage in the fugue is an exact copy of a phrase in one of Pachelbel's D minor fantasias, and the first half of the subject is based on this Pachelbel passage as well. At that time, it was common practice to create fugues on other composers' themes, and it is possible that BWV 565 is a sketch of the two combined schools of writing. BWV 565 exhibits a typical simplified North German structure with a free open toccata, a longer fugal section, followed by a free coda section, which is not named by notation, only in the tempo markings. In our organ registrations today, the toccata will clearly introduce two voices in character and establish the idea of a dialogue. The fugue section consists of 4 voices, adding more characters to our chase scene, but seems to focus only on 2 of the subjects. And these, I will imagine running through a hall of mirrors, quite often meeting each other and then running off again. The depth and volume of the registrations will build until we enter the final capture in the coda. The coda has 5 tempo changes and ends with an ominous minor plagal cadence, suggesting one of our subjects might not have made it out alive. The piece has been subject to wide and often conflicting variety of analyses. Although the title and period suggest that this is absolute music with no particular character scheme suggested in the title, it seems programmatic to my mind and appears suggestive of a 2-character chase. Please keep this in mind as you listen. I will be thinking of Tom and Jerry. Let's see who wins in the end.
Welcome. Glad to see so many of you back and many new faces. I'm Martin Luther. Did I fool you? I'm Chris Mickelson, the former organist. And this program allows me to keep my fingers in it. I'm just going to make a few comments because I'm going to put you to work. If you take the red hymnal, the red English hymnal in front of you, turn to number 503. Because today is All Saints' Eve, an older name for the holiday is All Hallows' Eve, from which we get Halloween. And you can see our altar is already dressed in white for All Saints, which we will be celebrating here on Sunday. I thought it would be very helpful for you to sing this hymn before you hear the organ variations based on the hymn. It's a well-known hymn. This version probably is not as well-known to many of you as it is to some of us. It's the original rhythmic version, and it's by Martin Luther. He wrote both the words and the music, which was very typical of his day. The composer of words and music it was in the troubadour tradition of the Middle Ages. They were usually one and the same person. Luther and his three friends here, Pretorius, Key, and Bach, were all Lutheran. Well, Luther wasn't Lutheran, but in fact, he hated the name Lutheran. He didn't want a church named after him. So here we are. He was an Augustinian monk. He was a Catholic priest. He was a doctor of theology, a professor, eventually a husband and father. He married a former nun, Katie, his rib, as he called her, Lord Katie. And he was a mischief maker. He didn't get along very well with the authorities of the church at that time. But I would say he was a good Catholic, and I think he considered himself dying one. Pretorius was a predecessor of Bach. He was in Wolfenbüttel, which is north of where Luther and Bach came from. This is a Fantasia on Ein Festeburg, and which is a kind of a free-form piece. It's not any prescribed form, so I think composers had a lot of fun writing fantasias or fantasias. This is actually an abbreviation of the original form, but it does include the entire hymn tune. After we sing the first two stanzas and I play this piece, which are in C, I'm going to modulate up to D so you can really sing out. And we'll have the tenors and the sopranos lead us and hopefully bring the rest of us with them for stanza 3. And that is going to be followed by, it's a very light piece on flutes, manuals only, and it's a very delightful little variation from a larger work of his. He was Dutch. He was from neighboring the Netherlands. And then after stanza 4, which is the final stanza, the Bach piece, this is one of his earlier works. He was only about 18 years old when he wrote it. It opens with a duo, one hand on each manual, contrasting registrations. There's a contrasting middle section, which is also a trio. The pedal enters, and it's a light fluty section. You'll hear the difference. And then it ends on a unison, which is kind of in character with the hymn. It adds a little bit of solidarity and brings it to a very firm close. I want to call your attention out in the narthex. There's a round table. It's got my little Lego Luther on it. And there's also a copy of St. Mark's Reformation 500 booklet, which we put together in 1917 for the anniversary. I had it open. I don't know, you can browse through it, but I did have it open to a Mighty Fortress, which showed a copy of the ancient, or one of the first hymnals it appeared in. And there's also a copy out there of a magazine called A Tempo, produced by the Association of Lutheran Church Musicians. And Alice, who is following me, is featured in an article. We attended a conference together this summer, which was very inspirational, and she was interviewed with other scholarship winners. So, if you'll give me just a moment, I'll set up my music, adjust the bench, and we'll be off.
Good afternoon. I'm Alice Reel. I'm the organist here at St. Mark's, and we are so delighted to have all of you here with us on Halloween for this organ concert. For the final selection, we are going to be traveling to France and hearing a piece by French organist Leon Bolman, who wrote the Suite Gothique in 1895. It is 4 movements, starts with an introduction in the form of a chorale. It's very bold and majestic. You're going to hear the full organ sound alternating with an echo played on just one of the keyboards. That is followed by the Minuet Gothique, which is in the style of a French Baroque dance. It's in triple meter in ABA form. So you'll hear the dance played first. There's a contrasting middle section. If you listen carefully, you might even hear some bowing and curtsying and tiptoeing, all the different dance moves. That movement is followed by a prayer. It's called the Prière à Notre Dame, and it's very ethereal. There's a melody accompanied by very pleading harmonic changes. That is followed by the famous toccata, probably the most recognizable from this suite. There's a lot driving, repeating rhythms accompanying a fiery melody in the pedal. So enjoy Suite Gothique.